welcome to the Marley Bird channel. In this video, you're going to learn how to make the blooming granny square. What's really great about the blooming granny square stitch is it takes a classic like the granny square and it shows you how to begin with a very interesting flower right in the center instead of a basic just round circle like a normal granny square. If you'd like to learn how to do basic granny squares, please check out the granny square video here on the Marley Bird channel. Otherwise, jump on in and let's learn how to make the blooming granny square. This pattern can be found in my crochet stitch sampler blanket available at marleybird.com. What makes this granny square different than others is that we begin with a flower motif here in the center, and then we begin to build out the basic granny square. If you need a refresher on how to do a granny square, please check out the granny square video right here on this channel. Otherwise, let's jump in and get started on this pattern. Once again, we are using the pattern from the Crochet Stitch Sampler Blanket. We're calling this the Blooming Granny Square All Colors. The reason I call it all colors is because if you're going to be making a baby blanket or something of that sort, you could use every single color in the blanket as you expand out each tier of the square. If you decide you don't want to do that, if you're going to use this stitch pattern for something else in the future, you don't have to change colors every square. Or every tier. It's totally up to you. For the example today, I'm going to show you how to change colors. We're going to begin here, and I'm going to show you that we have a chart here, and we also have written instructions. If you're a written instruction kind of girl or guy, please go ahead and read through these and follow along. For the demonstration of this video, I'm going to follow along with the chart because I want to be able to show you and point to you exactly what the stitches are we're going to be completing in the video. I feel like it's just is a better way for me to show you visually, and hey, you're on a video YouTube channel. I think visual is pretty important to you. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab some worsted weight yarn. You can use any weight yarn you want for a project like this. I prefer worsted weight if I'm making a blanket or anything of that sort because it just is nice and thick and I can get by a little bit faster. In this, I'm going to begin with a slip knot, and I can see right in the center of this granny square motif, it has 4 chains, and those are those little ovals. And it looks like we join with a slip stitch. That's that dot right there. That dot is a slip stitch to form a ring. So in order to do that, I have my my slip stitch on my hook. I'm going to chain 4, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to pop my hook right back over to the very first chain I made, stick it into the chain, yarn over my hook, pull a loop through the chain, and continue that on through the loop that's on my hook. So now you can see you have this nice little ring that you've created right here. Maybe it's not easy to see with my fingers, but you have a ring. Trust me, you have a ring. Right here you can see I have the green number 1 right there, and that just means that we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single crochets. That little cross symbol there is a single crochet, and we have 8 of them that we need to complete into this ring. Now if you're wondering, do I put all 8 of those into those chain stitches of the ring or do I put them in the hole? My answer is do whatever's easier. If you've watched some of these videos, you know that I really like working into the space of a stitch like this, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 1, and then I'm going to work single crochets right into the space of the ring I've created. Now, word to the wise, sometimes as beginners or even advanced beginners or experienced crocheters, we will accidentally get twisted around on this ring and just lose our place. So if you hold your thumb and forefinger sort of in the center of the ring where you're going to be putting your hook, you can stay balanced. You can stay oriented. How about that? That's a better word. I'm just going around the ring, and right now I'm just placing them all on there, and I'm going to count how many I've done. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need 1 more, but I'm kind of running out of space. So I'm going to scooch these over. That's one of the benefits of doing this into the ring is that I can scooch my stitches over because they're just made around these chain stitches. I'm going to put 1 more single crochet. Now if I look at my chart here, I'm going to look at my chart here, and you can see when I put my last single crochet, it has another dot right there. That means that I am going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to my first single crochet. So I'm going to stick my hook right into that first single crochet and put a slip stitch. If you're having trouble finding where that first single crochet is, maybe rip out all those singles you just did, and this time after you do your chain 1 in your first single, use a stitch marker and put it into that single crochet. I'll show you how to do that right now. On round 2, we're doing rounds, we can see we've done our slip stitch. We're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to build a popcorn stitch. Now this is different than a bobble. A popcorn stitch, you're going to complete 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets for this one, but it'll be 5 double crochets for the others. The reason this one is different is because these original chain 3 is going to count as a double. So if we count that original chain 3 as a double, we're getting our 5 doubles there that we want, but we have to begin with our chain 3 to kind of get the same height as the other 4 doubles. So we're going to begin with our chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And I can see right here at the top of that chain 3, there's that dot, and that's going to be the dot for the end of my round that they're going to slip into. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to put it into that chain 3 right there. So now I know where that chain 3 is. Make sense? So I'm putting it in there, and now I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets into that same single crochet I just came out of. So I'm going to do 4 complete double crochets all the way through. I'm going to be left with 1 loop on my hook. So that's where it's already different than a bobble stitch, because those we did partials. If you haven't done a bobble stitch yet, go check out the video on bobbles and you'll see what I mean. So here I have my chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, and this is what makes the popcorn different. You ready? I'm going to take my hook out of that stitch. I'm just going to hold it tight right there so that I make sure it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to take my hook now and come all the way back down here into that chain 3 stitch, the one I already have marked, if I can get my hook in there. And then so my hook is in there, I'm coming back, I'm putting the loop back on my hook, and I'm pulling that back through, and I'm going to tighten it up through that stitch. You see that? And then you do a chain 1 and you move on. So now if we look at the chart, we've done all that. There's our chain 1, and now we're going to do another bobble into the next single crochet. I'm going to show you how to do this bobble because this one is going to be the complete 5 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and 1 more, 5. So we have our 5 completed double crochets. I'm going to take my hook out of that loop, come all the way back here, and this time I don't have chain 3s to go into. I have to go into the top of the very first double crochet I made into that stitch, which is right there. So I stick my hook in there, come over here, grab that stitch or the loop. I'm going to go over there, grab the loop, and pull that through the stitch that I just went through and give it a nice pull. See how that kind of puckers up like that? That's the popcorn stitch. And then I chain 1 and I carry on. I would do that all the way around this circle. I'm going to end up with 8 popcorns. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to bring in one that I've completed. So right here we have our first popcorn. If you were to count all the way around, I have 8. And it's neat because you can see back here it sort of cups around on you. And so all your chain 1 spaces, they're going to be between your bobbles. All between your bobbles, and that's important that we have the correct number there because that's where we're going to start building our granny square. Now once again, we are starting this granny square different than you do most basic granny squares. If you need a refresher on how to do a basic granny square, check out my video on granny squares. It's really easy. I'm going to pop over here at the chart again, and we're no longer just joining in the same spot because we are changing colors, okay? So I have cut my yarn, I've woven in the ends so that way you don't have to see all those unsightly ends going around. And I'm just going to look at my next row, which is row 3, and initially I'm going to look around, I'm going to try and find my chains because I know I'm going to join somewhere. So it's right here. I can see by this arrow that it wants me to join into that chain 1 space. I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to begin building my granny square round, just like you would do a normal granny square round. So we're going to chain 3, do 2 double crochets into that same chain 1 space, chain 1, do 3 double crochets into that chain 1 space, chain 1, and when we get to the corner, we're going to do 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, all in that 1 space. by putting more stitches into that one space, we're creating this corner. So that's what's going to allow us to have a nice corner edge of the granny square, hence making it square. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and we're going to join with a slip stitch into our chain one corner. So all to do that, I just pull up a loop and I pull a loop through. So there's my slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now that's going to count as a double crochet, and I know that by looking at my chart. I can see that dot is worked right into that third chain of the turning chain because that's going to be where my slip stitch is. So I have chain 3, I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to put 2 double crochets into that same space. What we're creating here is it's a half of the corner of this side of the square. So I can see that I have the 2 doubles and a chain 1. And then I'm going to work 2 doubles into the next chain 1 space. I'm skipping right over those popcorns. They aren't ever going to be used. They're hanging out there just as a nice texture to the square. Now I've chained 1 and it's time to build our next corner. So I yarn over, go into the space, the chain 1 space. I'm doing 1, 2, 3 doubles. Chain 1 and then 3 doubles again. I'm going a little fast here because I'm assuming if you're doing this stitch pattern, you're already familiar with double crochets and chains, so I'm not taking extra time to build these. If you need a refresher on double crochets or chains, please go check out the other videos in this channel, on this channel. So I've completed this corner. Can you see how that chain 1 space right there begins to build the corner? So if I were to follow along on the chart, it's as if I have turned the corner. I've got to go along this way. So I'm going to chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space. Oh, I'm supposed to do a double crochet in the next chain 1 space. I'm going to do 3 of them, all right there. It makes it very fast. Wonderful way to get somewhere on a project. Now I've worked my way across to where I'm in the next corner. So I'm going to build my corner by doing 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets. My yarn is fussing with me a little bit. So 1, 2, 1 more. I'm going to set it down so you can see what I've got going on here. If I set this down, I have this nice round petaled flower in the middle here. You can see here's one corner right there. Here's the corner I've just created, and this is half of the corner that we began with. So I would carry on just around and I would finish up by putting a slip stitch into that mark stitch that I have right there. And we come over here to the chart, you can see that it begins again with a new color. We would join with a slip stitch into the chain 1 space in the corner, in any of the corners you want. I know this one has it that it's down here at this corner, but you can put it in any corner you want, as long as it's in that corner single chain 1 space. And then you begin chain 3, and this time as you're going around, because we've created an extra chain stitch on each round, you're going to have 2 sets of 3 double crochets because there's 2 chain spaces to fill in. And then likewise on the next round from there, you'll have 1, 2, 3 chain or 3 double crochet sets. Does that make sense? So with each tier or each round, you're actually expanding the size by adding extra chain 3 sections into each of the chain 1s, but you are always going to build your corners with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Again, you don't have to change colors, but if you are making the crochet stitch sampler baby blanket as a project, I highly suggest changing colors and making this the center motif of that blanket because it really draws in all the colors of the blanket. Now you know how to make a blooming granny square, and I hope that you will give it a try and maybe use it for other projects and not just a blanket.